In the late 1930s, American fashion was a dream of Parisian luxury. Trends were dictated by the grand couturiers of Paris, like Elsa Schiaparelli with her surrealist wit, and Coco Chanel with her elegant lines. Hollywood then magnified these dreams, draping stars in opulent silks, bias-cut satins, and extravagant furs. Fashion was a form of escapism from the decade-long Great Depression. But on December 7th, 1941, this dream evaporated. The attack on Pearl Harbor instantly and brutally shifted the national consciousness. Extravagance and frivolity felt wrong, even treacherous. A new, sober set of values took precedence: duty, shared sacrifice, and industrial efficiency. Fashion was no longer about individual expression, it was about national identity. Even before the bombs fell on Pearl Harbor, the fall of Paris to the Nazis in 1940 had been a profound shock. It severed the umbilical cord of American fashion, leaving designers in New York to find their own voice for the first time. But now, with the US officially in the war, the problem was no longer just inspiration. It was materials. The fabrics of fashion were now the fabrics of war. Silk and, crucially, new wonder fiber nylon were requisitioned entirely. They were needed for parachutes, aircraft tow ropes, flak jackets, and powder bags. Wool was redirected for millions of military uniforms and blankets. Leather was essential for soldiers' boots and harnesses. Even the metal in zippers and snaps was needed for weaponry. The question for the American woman was no longer, what is the latest style from Paris? It was, how can my wardrobe help win this war? Fashion was about to be drafted, and its new uniform would be one of practical, patriotic, and government-mandated restraint. In March of 1942, the U.S. government's War Production Board, or WPB, issued a sweeping and definitive set of rules. It was called General Limitation Order L-85. This was not a set of friendly guidelines, it was the law, and it would micromanage the design of every single garment produced in America for the next 4 years. The singular goal of L-85 was the radical conservation of fabric. The regulations were astonishingly specific, acting as a mandatory national design brief. The law set maximum measurements for every class of women's apparel. It was a tailor's new rulebook, written by Uncle Sam. Hems were to be no deeper than 2 inches, and a single-turn hem was preferred. Skirt lengths were frozen at, or just below, the knee, a length deemed most practical for factory work and walking. The maximum sweep, or circumference of a skirt, was strictly limited to 72 inches, effectively banning the popular swirling swing skirts that used yards of precious fabric. L-85 was a death blow to any and all superfluous uses of cloth. It banned ruffles, cuffs on blouses, attached hoods or shawls, and dolman, or balloon sleeves. Even the number and size of pockets were restricted. Zippers were limited in length. Aprons, a staple, could no longer be wastefully double-layered. This wasn't just a style, it was a mandate. The WPB had enforcement agents, nicknamed the Style Police, who performed spot checks on garment factories. Any manufacturer found violating L-85 and wasting fabric, perhaps by adding an illegal set of cuffs, could face severe penalties, including fines or even being shut down. L-85 was the single most powerful force in shaping the look of the 1940s. The result of L-85 and the all-pervasive wartime mood was a new, streamlined silhouette. It was sharp, austere, practical, and had an unmistakable military bearing. The defining garment of this new era became the utility suit, or war suit, and it was the uniform of the patriotic American woman. This suit was the perfect embodiment of L-85. It featured broad, padded shoulders. This detail, which had started in the late 1930s, now took on a new, quasi-military significance. It gave women a strong, capable, and confident V for victory silhouette, a look that said she was ready for work and for service. From these broad shoulders, the jacket was cut short and boxy to save fabric, and it nipped in at a natural, unbelted waist. The matching skirt was the key. It was slim, often A-line, and fell just to the knee, its length dictated precisely by the new law. There were no pleats, no ruffles, no extra pockets. It was clothing stripped down to its functional, dignified essentials. This was the uniform of the woman on the home front. It was respectable, durable, and most importantly, it was visibly patriotic. She could wear it to her job operating a lathe, to her Red Cross volunteering shift, or to go shopping with her ration book. It was a sign of her active participation in the war effort. Colours also shifted. Bright, complex chemical dyes were often needed for military use. Patriotic colours like navy blue, victory red, grey, black and brown became the standard. Small conservative floral prints or checks were common, as large splashy patterns were seen as wasteful and gaudy. To be fashionable was to be frugal. To be chic was to be simple. Because of L85, clothing was not only simple, it was also scarce and precious. Rationing became a daily fact of life for every American. In 1943, the government introduced the point system for clothing. Every man, woman, and child was issued a ration book with a limited number of stamps, and every major clothing item, from a coat to a dress, cost both money and a set number of points. This new clothing currency made buying new garments a rare and carefully planned event. The real fashion story of the war, therefore, was not about buying, but about conserving. The government, through the Office of War Information, launched a massive propaganda campaign with a catchy, persistent slogan, "Make, do, and mend." This became a national mantra, a patriotic duty. Magazines like Good Housekeeping and Vogue, which had once trumpeted new trends, now ran articles on how to extend the life of every garment. Women were taught, in classes and pamphlets, to darn socks, patch elbows, and how to turn a man's shirt collar, reversing it to hide the worn-out fold. Nothing, absolutely nothing, was thrown away. Refashioning became a high art and a national pastime. A worn-out men's suit, with its generous seams and quality wool, was a prized possession. A woman could meticulously deconstruct it and, with a simplicity pattern, re-sew it into a smart utility suit for herself or a set of coats for her children. A turncoat meant completely reversing the fabric of a coat to get a new side. Old dresses were updated with new contrasting collars or cuffs, often called dickies or cover-ups. A woman could use a single simple black dress, her basic black, and make it look different every day with a new home-sewn accessory, saving her precious ration stamps for a new pair of shoes. Home sewing machines ran day and night. Mending circles became a social event, as women gathered to share tips and, in the process, build a powerful sense of shared, patriotic purpose. Women's fashion wasn't the only aspect of life governed by L85. The regulations for men's clothing were just as strict, and they created the victory suit, the standard civilian uniform for the American man. This suit was the very picture of wartime austerity, a sober reflection of the man who wore it. Just like women's suits, the victory suit was designed to save every possible inch of wool. The law banned the vest, which had been a standard component of a man's three-piece suit for generations. The three-piece became an instant relic of a more decadent time. The law also outlawed double-breasted jackets, patch pockets, and any fancy tailoring. The suit was single-breasted, with a slim, unpleated trouser. Most famously, the cuff on trousers was forbidden. This single detail, the cuffed versus the uncuffed trouser, became a visible marker of a man's patriotism. But this new, sparse look created a powerful and defiant cultural backlash. In the booming, overcrowded cities, many young African-American, Mexican-American, and Italian-American men rejected the victory suit. They embraced an outrageous, flamboyant, and deliberately wasteful style, the zoot suit. The zoot suit was the absolute opposite of L85. It featured a long, heavily draped jacket with wide, exaggerated shoulders and pegged trousers that were voluminous at the knee and cinched tight at the ankle. It was worn with a wide-brimmed hat and a long, looping watch chain. It used an enormous amount of wasted fabric. To wear a zoot suit was a bold and dangerous political statement of identity for marginalized youth. In the eyes of servicemen and the white establishment, it was flagrantly unpatriotic. This cultural clash, simmering over race, class, and fabric, exploded in 1943 with the zoot suit riots. For several days, servicemen roamed cities like Los Angeles, attacking young men in zoot suits, stripping them and burning their clothes, all in the name of patriotic conservation. For the average American woman, one of the most personal and persistent shortages of the war was hosiery. Before the war, silk stockings were a daily luxury. In 1939, DuPont introduced nylon stockings, and they were an immediate blockbuster sensation, stronger, sheerer, and more desirable than silk. Women lined up around the block to buy them. But when the war began, all silk and nylon production was diverted, 100%, to the military. These materials were crucial for parachutes, hammocks, and sutures. Stockings vanished from store shelves almost overnight. This created a genuine social dilemma for women, for whom bare legs were still considered improper or even loose. This shortage created a massive new cosmetic industry. Women were not ready to give up the look of stockings, so they faked it. Liquid stockings, a bottled leg-colored makeup, became a bathroom staple. Women would patiently paint this makeup onto their legs to create a smooth, tanned, stocking-like appearance. To complete the illusion, they would use an eyebrow pencil or eyeliner to draw a seam up the back of their calf, mimicking the seamed style of the day. This was a tricky, time-consuming process that required a steady hand. It was also easily ruined by rain or a simple splash, leading to runs of makeup. Shoes were just as problematic. Leather was a critical war material, needed for the millions of pairs of soldiers' boots. In 1943, shoe rationing was introduced. Every civilian was limited, via a special stamp in their ration book, to just 2 or 3 new pairs of shoes per year. To get around the leather shortage, designers got creative. They began using non-rationed materials. The most popular solution was the platform sole, which could be made from cork or wood, saving precious leather for the sole. Fabric uppers, made of canvas or felt, also became common. Shoes became heavier, chunkier, and more practical, a far cry from the delicate heels of the 1930s. For decades, American fashion had been a copycat industry. Designers and manufacturers would make their annual pilgrimage to Paris, buy the original models, and reproduce them for the American market. But when Paris fell to the Nazis in 1940, that lifeline was severed. For the first time, American designers were completely on their own. This, combined with the stringent L85 restrictions, created a unique pressure cooker opportunity. It forced American designers to stop looking to Europe and start innovating for themselves. They began to design for the life the American woman was actually living, a life of factory work, volunteering, childcare, and movement. A new generation of designers, led by the brilliant and pragmatic Claire McCardle, championed this new American look. McCardle hated the fussy, restrictive, and delicate European styles. She believed clothing should be practical, comfortable, democratic, and versatile. She famously used lowly fabrics that weren't restricted by the WPB, like cotton denim, jersey, and gingham. These were fabrics for workwear and children's clothes, not for high fashion, but she used them to create elegant, simple, and functional clothing. She used non-rationed metal hardware, like hooks and zippers, as decoration. She championed separates, allowing women to mix and match blouses, skirts, and jackets to create a multitude of outfits from just a few pieces. This was a perfect, stylish solution for a rationed wardrobe. Her most famous design, the popover wrap dress, was commissioned by Harper's Bazaar in 1942. Made of denim, it was a stylish, practical dress a woman could wear to pop over from cleaning her house to hosting a cocktail party. This was a revolution. Instead of high-maintenance couture, the American look was about sportswear, practicality, and ease. Designers like McCardle, alongside Vera Maxwell and Bonnie Cashin, didn't just dress women for the war. They invented the entire category of American sportswear, a style that would come to dominate global fashion for the rest of the 20th century. Ultimately, fashion in wartime America was about more than just clothing. It was a visible, daily expression of a person's patriotism and commitment to the war effort. The way a person dressed, from their uncuffed trousers to their mended socks, became a powerful moral statement. To wear a simple L-85 compliant utility suit was to wear a uniform of shared sacrifice. It signaled to everyone on the street that you were doing your part, that you were conserving fabric for the boys overseas. It was a badge of honor, a symbol of solidarity that connected the woman in the factory to the soldier on the front. In contrast, to wear an old pre-war long skirt or a flashy elaborate dress was seen as hopelessly vain, selfish, and unpatriotic. Propaganda posters and magazine articles shamed fashion slackers, equating wasteful clothing with helping the enemy. The zoot suit was the most extreme example of this, where a fashion choice was seen as an act of defiance, even treason. This period also redefined American ideas of beauty. The ideal woman was no longer the delicate, pampered socialite. She was the capable, strong, and resourceful Rosie the Riveter, or the sensible Red Cross volunteer. Practicality became the new elegance. Durability became the new luxury. When the war finally ended in 1945, the restrictions were lifted. Fashion exploded with a pent-up desire for luxury and femininity. Christian Dior's new look in 1947, with its long, sweeping skirts using 20 yards of fabric, was a direct, decadent rejection of wartime austerity. But the legacy of the war years endured. The American look, practical, casual sportswear, was here to stay, an authentic American invention. And the generation that had lived through it never forgot the lessons of make do and mend. They had learned that fashion was not just about style, it was about character, community, and resilience.